And welcome back.
Yep, we're here again with internationally recognized bullying expert Gabriella Van Ray. She grew up being bullied and is now an activist, advocate, and author. We're going to get right to viewer questions, starting with one that Tiff has.
Yeah, Bobby asked, she said her great-grandchild's been experiencing bullying in her K-5 class. They discussed it with the acting principal. The principal doesn't believe that it's going on and says that she's overreacting. How would you respond to that?
It's a little bit what we said earlier. It's the deniability. I always think once a child says to a parent or a grandparent, there's bullying going on, we need to investigate. So I would say to the grandparent, go back to school or go directly to the source, find out the name of the child that the grandchild is being bullied.
Okay.
And are you suggesting talking to parents? Because there's a question about that specifically related to how you approach the parents of a bully. Is that ever a good idea, first of all?
I would always do it with the school in coordinates, because
what if the school though is saying, oh,
if the school doesn't do it, then I would go.
Okay.
But I have heard that parents that go directly have the door closed, because parents often say, my child is not a bully. And again, it's because we put a stigma on it. Whether it's the bully or the victim, both need to be helped. Okay. That's my message, both.
Here's a very interesting one for you, and I'm going to do my best to describe it the right way. They said there's a parent who is bullying her child. So basically, her daughter is friends with a girl who's been close friends for years. Okay, they've been friends. They're in several play dates and groups together. Recently, the mother of the daughter's friend, was mad because she started hanging out with two other friends. And so the mother is bullying her daughter, basically won't say hi to her in public, and basically just being mean to her. How do you address a parent who's bullying your child in that way?
Basically, if I understand correctly, the parent was starting to be mean because the child started hanging out with two other children.
Yes.
Yeah, so I would say jealousy, first of all.
Yeah.
But I think, honestly, it's all about communication. It's all about being kind. This mother needs to communicate with this child and vice versa. Because again, if we don't say to a friend, listen, I really don't like what you did yesterday, then why would we lose friendships over that? They're too important. So I would, for this parent, go with your daughter to this other parent and talk it out.
Okay.
Get a nice cup of hot cocoa and talk. Because if you don't talk, you'll never know.
Yeah, and I think it's that humanizing the bully kind of thing. You have this suggestion that, you know, the victim needs to kind of understand the bully a little bit more, and sometimes I think victims are told, well, you need to recognize the social, emotional neediness of the person who's behaving like a bully. Chelsea thinks, though, that that requires the victim to take on undue responsibility. How would you address that?
Me personally, I've been the victim most of my life, and I want to teach the victims that they have power and that they don't need to stay in that role of victim. And their first power is to tell someone. That's one. And the second is to face the bully, because you really do have to face your issues. There are questions that you have. You have questions like, why did he always rip off my glasses? Or why did she always say that I was too short to play? You want to know. So I say no, you are doing a disfavor to not put them together. Of course you prep this. Of course there are other people there. And of course there are emotions. I hope there are.
Well, and she reminds us, too, that people who bully a student on the basis of disability, because that happens a lot, there are 3 federal laws against that. So the law is behind you if you have a child who's being bullied. We had a question from Lindsay saying, who should a child in high school whose counselors are of little to no help go to for help against what could ultimately turn out bad? For example, being bullied to the point where they turn into threats, being followed and pushed to the point of missing classes, having to leave school early to avoid possible altercations. You know, in high school, what do you do?
I think when nothing else helps anymore, when everything failed, I think they should go to the police, because the police is there to protect, and they will step in. I know in Canada they have, in London, Ontario they have. The police actually comes to school and starts investigating. So I think that's important. But if you can't or you don't want to do that because it's intimidating to the victim, because I do think about that, then I would think of a mediator. I mean, there are mediators around. And it doesn't necessarily...
Like lawyers, you mean, who are mediators?
A mediator who's calm, who's not on the side of the school, who's not on the side of the parents, but who really investigates the problem. And if necessary, and there are real threats, I personally, as a mom, I would take my child out of school temporarily, a couple of days. But I suggest all parents never to change schools because your child has been bullied. Because the problem won't go away. It just goes with the child over and over, and the self-esteem and self-image, everything that child has goes with them.
That's unbelievable. That's a great advice and something to really think about, not switching schools. Your 2 books are available on your website, as well as more information and how people can find out more about having you speak to their group. It's Gabriella Van Ray, and it's RIJ.com. So nice to have you.
Thank you
so
for being
much. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.